Hurts is the reigning Super Bowl MVP and still looking to get better. His head coach weighs in on where the quarterback has improved. And don't look now, but the Eagles are loaded at linebacker. We look at the battle to start opposite Zach Bond, and if the Eagles have altered their approach to that position. Plus, John Clark sits down with offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo on his first play calling experience here in the NFL. And with that, welcome into Birds Huddle, presented by Toyota, official automotive partner of the NFL, along with Barrett Brooks. I'm Ashlyn Sullivan. The Eagles back at practice today, but some notable injuries still. Devontae Smith, Zach Bond, Nolan Smith still sidelined. It's early on in camp, but Barrett, these reps are important. I'm a little worried.
Yeah, they are important, but we're talking about guys that I think will be okay. You know, we don't have to worry about Zach Bond. I think he'll be good. Nolan, I think Nolan needs to get in there, but you know, if he's got something wrong, you know, we got to make sure he's okay. So I mean, this is what happens. Just like we were just talking before the show, the dog days of summer. This is what camp is all about. If they're not going to press the issue, if somebody's hurt or if they have a little nick, they don't want it to progress into the season. So let's just take care of now.
Yes, Nolan Smith in concussion protocol, so we're waiting to hear when he will come back to practice. And earlier this week, Nick Sirianni was asked about the improvements of his quarterback, Jalen Hurts. Take a listen.
It's in his DNA to get better and to use, you know, the good things that he does and get better from him, and use the bad thing, you know, any mistake that he has to get better. That's what I always admire about him. I think he, you know, just improves in every way. That's a great thing for your leader to have, because that's all your goal is just to continue to get better, particularly through a season. I think he just does a great job. I think he's continuing to do a good job of going through his progressions and getting to the right guy with the football and getting to his third, fourth reads. You know, as you see, the ball doesn't hit the ground very often in practice, and that's the way you want to see it.
And it is now time for our three-point stance presented by Toyota. Number one, Jalen Hurts hasn't come close to hitting his ceiling. It seems to get better every single year, his playmaking abilities. And really the biggest difference I think we all have noticed at training camp is the command of the offense and the vocal leadership we are seeing. Today there was a lot of pre-snap penalties, and he was going up and down the sideline talking to a bunch of his offensive linemen, A.J. Brown, Kevin Patullo. Hey, let's get this fixed. And I know we always talk about that. It's like, yeah, the quarterback needs to talk more. Well, we're seeing it this year.
Yeah, that's somebody that's not a talker. Jalen's one of those guys, he'd rather lead by example. He's worried about getting himself better, make sure he's the best version of himself he can be. Jalen has never went into a season the same way he was last year. And I think a lot of players do that. You know, all right, I've made it. You know, I've won a Super Bowl. I've made it. I was Super Bowl MVP. Instead of him saying, all right, you know, I've made it, he's gotten in his mind that he's got to do even more. What does he do? He goes to me, the best player to ever play in sports, Michael Jordan, and seeks counseling from him. He wants to be the best version of himself, so he works at it. He's always going to be a guy that's going to work on all the things that he doesn't do right. They say he can't go through his progression. What does he do? He gets into his third and fourth progressions. He's in camp right now, just like Coach said, not a lot of balls on the ground. He makes sure that he completes the majority of his passes. He may have a bad day here and there, and I think today's one of those days where he didn't have the best day. But still, though, you're talking about a guy that's playing with 10 other guys on that field. And you can't be perfect every single time, but that's one guy who really tries to be perfect every time he's on the field. So you're going to get the best version of him you're going to get. He's going to make sure he works out. He gets the best shape he can be in. His mind, body, his soul, everything is pointed in the direction that he wants to be great. So, I mean, I have no problem with Jalen having a bad day. I just know he's going to be on come that first game and throughout the season, he's going to make sure he's the best version of himself he can be.
Right, and I wouldn't even say it was Jalen having a bad day today. Dallas Goedert did mention to us after practice that this is the first time this training camp they're going with a silent count on the offensive line in camp jargons, and you could tell
that's different.
They were shaky by it. There was a lot of preset penalties. It's like the offense started so strong at the start of training camp. To me, they definitely have regressed the past two practices. But explain it to me. That's got to be expected with a silent count.
Yeah, you know, silent count is different. You know, one thing this offensive line prides himself in, especially the tackles, is getting off the ball on that snap count. They are great. It looks like they're almost jumping off sides. So when you take that away, now these guys are looking at the ball. So it's like this. They're sitting down like you're sitting down like this, and they're looking, they're looking at the ball inside. So they're looking at the ball down there. Why are you looking at that ball? As soon as that ball moves, they're going to move and they're going to set. And they're trying to jump the count because the defense now has the same advantage that they do. So they want to make sure that they know exactly when that ball is snapped. So you're going to get some, penalties in that aspect. When you're looking at the ball, you can't look up and see what the linebackers and everything are doing. So they got to learn to get into that, and they will get better at that. It's one of the things why the offense takes a lot longer to get up to speed than the defense.
Yeah, we got to get to number 2 quickly, but what is the advantage of a silent count? Like, why go through the trouble of doing that?
Because you're not going to be able to hear in a lot of these stadiums. Kansas City, you won't be able to hear.
That's why they're pumping in that crowd noise.
Exactly. So you won't be able to hear that, so you got to be able to go out there and get the ball off and play.
And this is what we talk about, working through the kinks. At number 2, Jalen Carter is going to be the Eagles' Iron Man, basically. Today, he had his first reps this summer, 11-on-11 drills. Last season, he played more snaps than any defensive tackle in the league when you add in the playoffs. So now you look at Jalen Carter. It was great to see him back out there in team fashion. Are they going to rely on him this much again next season?
Absolutely, absolutely. He's going to rely on himself. He doesn't want to come off that field. He wants to make sure he's out there imposing his will, making a difference. This is payday. He's got to go out there and get it and make it happen because there's a lot of dollar signs that are going to be up in the air. And I know he doesn't necessarily, yeah, he does. I'm not going to lie. Yeah, he wants the money. But he also wants to be the best version of himself. He wants to be a great player, thought of one of those great players. Aaron Donald said he's handing over the keys to this young guy. And Jalen Carter is definitely the guy to take those keys. I expect big things out of Jalen. So he's going to have to play upwards of, I looked at the numbers. He's about 79% of the snaps. I was saying 90, but it's more lines of 80% of the snaps on the field as a defensive tackle. That's unbelievable because defensive linemen don't usually do that. They switch out. You want to have them fresh. That's why they, alternate them so much because they want them fresh. Well, hey, he didn't have to be fresh. He still went hard every single play. You can be out there and not make a difference, but he was out there making a difference even when he was tired.
Yeah, it was impressive when we were watching 11-on-11 the first time. You saw Jahad Campbell, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis all together. It was like, oh, we could get used to this.
Meat. Where's
That's
the beef?
For sure.
Yes, for sure.
Now, number 3, Dallas Goedert can still be a major weapon. The tight end is back for one more year, entering his age 30 season, and he spoke today about now being one of the elder statesmen on the roster.
I still feel like one of the young guys. It's crazy to think that I'm one of the older ones on the team. But no, the locker room's great. We got a bunch of young guys that are hungry, ambitious, love being here. And the mood's great. It's so much fun to be watching Jordan Davis and his charisma, him dance around the locker room. And I feel like we just got a really good team with a lot of people that connect, and we continue to grow closer and closer. And, I've just really enjoyed meeting the new guys, spending time with the younger guys, and coming out here and competing with them.
It is crazy to think about that Dallas Goedert is now one of the old guys in the locker room. But we say this every training camp with Dallas. He has looked great in training camp. He's by far, I think, getting the most targets out of any offensive weapon. But availability is everything with Dallas. When he's 100%, no question, he's a playmaker.
And there's no question he has to be the stud in this offense. In fact, he has to be the guy that really controls this offense because, number one, that's a quarterback's best friend. The tight end is the easiest throw right over the middle. But he's got to control that middle. That means, you can't go to the outside all the time. They'll start, pushing coverage out there because you got two great receivers out there. If he can roam in the middle and be that instant impact player in the middle of that defense, this offense could be unstoppable because now you have every single aspect of the field available to this offense. He needs to be there, not just, during the game. He can't disappear. He's got to be there. He's got to be present. He's got to be a factor in this offense. So I'm looking for big things from Dallas Goedert, huge things.
So far, so good for the tight end. He has looked excellent so far in training camp. And now time for the playbook presented by Supercuts. When we come back, a look at the linebacker battle taking center stage at camp. Dave Zangaro weighs in. Plus, John Clark sits down with Kevin Patullo, and Eric Allen gets his gold jacket this weekend. We'll take a look at the Eagles Hall of Famer. This is Birds Huddle presented by Toyota, official automotive partner of the NFL.